Almost there now. Whew. Swapping two people is harder work than you might think. Even a master magician like me can't guarantee I'll get it right the first time. Hey, wait! Is this the back one? I can't tell. They both look the same inside. Huh? No, that's not it. I'll try again.
7!
Hey, slow down! Honestly!
5! 4! 3!
Whoops! That doesn't count!
0!
Ta-da!
It is of utmost importance.
Lyney's still talking to the guard. I think someone... Thanks, everyone.
Yes, let's head back up.
According to Lyney, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with Halsey. Lyney went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is the actual truth. Lyney did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed traces of the aftermath.
Well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims? Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, how could he have not heard that sound? Why do you ask? You're saying that he wasn't? To think you'd use such luck. Well then, if it wasn't Lyney who committed the crimes, then who was it?
The deceased's name is Cowell, Lyney's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment. What I must do next is recreate the truth, what Cowell did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim. Lyney was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. It would have been tough for both people to fit in. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel, so there must have been some fear. The deceased's name is Cowell, Lyney's assistant. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. No one entered or left the Opera House through its entrances. So where would the criminal have wanted? It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would likely have bumped into Lyney as well.
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Lyney was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. The deceased's name is Cowell, Lyney's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment. The vase was not broken by chance. It was used to cover important evidence. The water!
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when—
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress.
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared with everyone post-haste. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage, each labeled separately. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are water from the primordial sea.
The primordial sea.
The deceased's name is Cowell, Lyney's assistant. Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for another magic trick, but was instead some form of triggering mechanism. The water from the primordial sea should already have been prepped before Halsey entered the magic box. I remember there was something else within the inner layer of that box. This time, we need to tell the entire story from Lily-Ann's perspective. The strange sound wasn't from a fight. It was Lily-Ann's attempt to break out when she was frightened. The flower vase was not broken to cover anything up, but was smashed during the struggle between Lily-Ann and Cowell. Lily-Ann was afraid that she would be recognized if she left, so she changed clothes and hid, biding her time. Just what one might expect of an experienced thief.
As such, Lyney and Lynette are officially declared not guilty.
We've talked to all 3 suspects, purely based on their conversations with me. Who could it be? You know, if you think everything through, Uncle Marcel is indeed the most suspicious of them all.
Now then, Miss Navia, who is the person you would like to charge instead?
That person is... Marcel, the head of Confrérie of Cabrières!
I see. In which case, I will recount the findings about that case as originally recorded by Maison Gardiennage. These are the known facts about the case.
However, we should revisit the case now that we've gained new information about the abilities of water from the primordial sea. The testimony of the victim's family confirms that Jacques had thoughts of assassinating Callus when he set out for the banquet. However, in the end he reconsidered, and instead shared everything with Callus, hoping to seek the latter's protection. Unfortunately for Jacques, the true culprit had already considered this possibility, and had sent out another assassin. This assassin first shot Jacques, then turned to shoot Callus, only for Callus to wrestle the gun from him and kill him instead. A pile of clothing was found at the scene. The guards once believed they were used by Jacques as a costume to disguise himself. But now it is clear that the clothes were proof that there was a third person at the scene, and that they were turned into water after committing the murder. Since it was raining that day, the culprit was confident that they could use the rain to wash away all traces of their dissolved accomplice.
But the truth of it, Marcel, is that you've always been Vacher.
Huh?
According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale, Mr. Vacher is guilty.
So this is how justice is done in Fontaine. What a joke. You've got your rules. Well, I've got mine too!
I am sorry. If you have been wronged, we will find the truth. But the rules of the court must be upheld.
I'll ask you 3 questions. Answer all of them correctly, and I'll agree to your request. Question 1. Regarding the hidden rules of the production zone, what is the truth behind the one about not being allowed to work for 3 days in a row?
We often see Miss Sigewinne observing the prisoners at work near the production zone. It seems like she can perceive the general state of a person's health just by looking at them. I've been told that the infirmary is always empty for the half hour just before lunch. But what could Sigewinne be doing during that time? The research notes said that the Melusine race perceives the world very differently from humans. As a result, the Melusines have also developed a sense of aesthetics that appears rather strange and alien to humans.
Not bad. You've uncovered Sigewinne's secret and even guessed her intentions correctly as well. It's nice to know that her efforts have not gone unacknowledged. All right, now for my next question. There are also some hidden rules in the Pancration Ring, including the one that you're not allowed to support both sides of a fight. Why is that?
According to Cowells, the Pancration tournament only took place because the Fonta company sponsored it. The company must want a return on their investment as well. Fonta's internal report suggests that they're starting a new trial of an unnamed and unpackaged product. But the product has to undergo a trial because even Fonta's own employees have a lot of reservations about it. The Fonta promoter has been struggling because he doesn't recognize the real value of coupons. Meanwhile, the Duke believes that only idiots who don't understand the value of coupons will spend them on Fonta.
I acknowledge the effort you've put into bringing the truth of this mystery to light. Although, based on your description, that Fonta promoter is a bit too careless with his words, I may just reconsider my collaboration with the company. All right, and here's the final question. What's the secret behind our head nurse and all of her patients in the infirmary?
Stop your cruel and pointless games, Risley! You know that we haven't finished our investigation, so there's no way we can answer the last question! The thought of sparing Lynette and Fremine never even crossed your mind! You'll pay for this! Ah!
They're here.
Just like I said. You're just in time. But be ready to run. Three, 2, 1.
This won't hold it for long. Find Neuvillette. Tell him the defenses are about to collapse.
Then what will happen to you?
Until he arrives, we're the last line of defense. The gate. How long do you think it'll hold?
That depends on us.
My thanks to you both. I will take it from here.
Sure you don't need a hand?
Quite sure.
Wow. So, what's your secret, huh? Let me guess. Nah, who knows? Maybe it's just your sense of responsibility.
Sounds about right.
day may come when the prophecy is fulfilled and the waters burst forth. But it is not this day! This ancient power could easily obliterate an entire race. A tsunami of fury would unleash endless catastrophe. This sentence is too severe. Forgive me for overruling it.
You defeated the Hydro Archon in the very first duel you took part in at the Opernhaus.
The prosecution and the defense are both in position. The trial shall now begin. A curse? I once thought it possible that the aura of an Archon might naturally resemble a type of curse.
Tell me then, if I'm not the real Hydro Archon, then who is? If you have no evidence of another Hydro Archon's existence, nor can you find anyone who can back up their claim to be such, then what grounds have you to say that I'm not actually the real deal?
Due to the inherent risk of the test, Lady Farina, you may... I believe the time for arguments and presentation of evidence has come to an end. If there are no objections, we will move on to the final judgment. We shall now turn to the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale to render the final verdict on the charges. According to the judgment of the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale, Farina is... No, the Oratrice also displays a guilty verdict. However, the exact wording of the verdict is thus: the Hydro Archon, guilty, to be punished via the death sentence. I believe I've now made sense of the Hydro Archon's crime. It has to do with Fontaine's lost history.
We know from the case of the serial disappearances of young women that Fontainians can be dissolved in primordial seawater, and the first stone slate tells us that long ago, the Hydro-Archon used her power to turn Oceanids into humans. This might be the reason that Fontainians can dissolve. Perhaps what is about to take place has all happened before. The true sin of the Hydro-Archon that Nervalette mentioned, and the original sin cast down on the people of Fontaine by Celestia, as recorded on the stone slates. It's not as simple as falling into the sea. When Navia fell into the sea, her consciousness was subjected to judgment. The stone slates show the people gathered around the Hydro-Archon in the sea. Could that be alluding to the same thing? The prophecy from the stone slates found its way into society, but not many people believed it at first. The fortress of Meropide was nearly flooded with primordial seawater, which we know can cause Fontainians to dissolve. It seems increasingly likely that the prophecy may come true. If we hadn't dealt with it in time, things could have gone very badly.
As for the root cause of the catastrophe, I believe you've already encountered it once before. This eruption was just a small warning of the things to come. We must find the root cause of the disaster.
It was both dream and reality.
The hour of my execution is almost here. For the sinner, the curtain call has come. I know I may not sound it, but faced with death, I find myself a little afraid. Perhaps this is one thing both gods and humans have in common. Farewell, Nervalette. I hope you've enjoyed the part you played these 500 years.
Judex Nervalette, hereby declare, people of Fontaine, your sins are forgiven.